Hey everybody, welcome to the Cheerful Ghost Roundtable. The Cheerful Ghost Roundtable is an open discussion with people from the Cheerful Ghost community about awesome stuff in video games, brought to you by the greatest website on the internet, cheerfulghost.com. And for everyone who is wanting to type something into their browser right now but doesn't want to close the YouTube video, open a new tab, that would be Alt-T, and type in cheerfulghost.com. And again, for everyone at home, that's cheerfulghost.com. All right, and so the first thing we do when we start every episode is we talk about cheerfulghost.com and what we're drinking and what we've been playing since the last episode. I'm going to start things off with Travis. I'm throwing everyone a curveball today. Travis, what are you drinking? What are you playing?
Well, I'm drinking Devil's Backbone Schwartz beer. It's a local brewery in Virginia that makes some really good stuff, and I'm digging this one a lot. As for what I'm playing, not much. I may have put a couple minutes into Diablo 3 here and there, but yeah, nothing much.
Do you mean, as in minutes? Can those minutes be divisible by hours? I'm just curious if that's...
Days. Yeah, I've been playing that game so much. There's so many other things I want to play. Well, a couple other things I want to play, but I can't pull myself away.
Would you say, based on the fact that you can't pull yourself away, that you have a problem, a huge problem, or an addiction? I'm just curious which one it is.
I would say addiction. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I would say either, because I go through phases with Diablo games where I just obsess over them for months and then stop. I'm just sick of it. I can't do it anymore. And then a few months later, I go back into it, and in one of those, you threw a curveball, so I'm not sure who goes next.
That's totally fine. I have one question for you, Travis. What's your favorite boss fight in Diablo 3?
You know, I hated Malthael the first couple times through, but I really like that fight now.
Yeah.
You kind of get the hang of it after you get the hang of the patterns and everything. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. And since the curveball keeps getting thrown, White Boy Slim, what you drinking / playing?
I'm drinking a beer that's from your neck of the woods. I got a Black Butte Porter from Deschutes Brewery.
God bless Oregon.
Yeah, it is a great beer. I've had it before. Decided to get it again. And I'm drinking my half-liter mug here. So
you went with the small, cute.
Exactly. Yeah, the small. Salute.
That's an awesome mug.
That's
Thanks.
awesome.
There used to be a place here called Brat Brothers, and it was basically like a German beer hall that somebody dropped into Southern California. Sadly, it is not here anymore, but I got this from there. What I've been playing Diablo 3, not nearly as much as some of my roundtable folks here have been, but I've been putting in a little time there. And then also, about a week, 2 weeks ago, they were giving away the Knights of Pen and Paper on iOS. So I picked that up, and I've been playing that, in between pretty much any chance I get. It's been a lot of fun. I like it a lot. So far it's been the best mobile game that I've had on my iPod. So it's been really cool. All right, so I'm gonna say, let's see who's next here. One of the Johns.
We'll start with other John first. Go ahead.
Both of you go on 3.
I am. I'm drinking a Dos Equis.
He doesn't always drink beer, but when he does.
I drink it twice.
See?
It's because I'm in Texas now, and this is what everybody drinks. This is the state beer of Texas, I'm told.
I thought the state beer of Texas was like Budweiser or something. Please don't kill me, Texas. I don't know anything about your state. I don't know anything about your state.
Actually, Budweiser has this, I think it's called Fortune or some nonsense. It actually tastes pretty good. It's like an amber. For a Budweiser, it's pretty good. Having grown accustomed to all the Northwest beers, it's hard to drink something like this, but it is pretty tasty. And it's my second one, so I might go off the rails.
So let me tell you about gaming. You're fucking need to listen to me.
So you weren't here when Tim was on the eggnog. That was awesome.
I also had a really light lunch, and I've got this, so I may be going off the rails with you anytime.
Right.
So.
It's gonna be an awesome podcast. I've been playing Risk of Rain for really just earlier today, because I haven't been playing anything for the past week. I've been driving from Portland to Texas, and that was crazy. I thought I did it in 2 days, and I thought I was going to go insane after the first day because I did like 18 hours.
Oh my god.
And it was, I swear to God, I thought that somebody had come into my hotel room and like brainwashed me because I couldn't get to sleep. I had like some 5-hour energy thing like at 11 o'clock so that I wouldn't die on my way into Colorado. And then it was really hard. I was laying in this crazy, creepy hotel room, and the TV was like a mile away, and the only thing that was remotely coming in clear was Vikings on the History Channel. So that was on in the background. And I swear to God, I'm like hallucinating about people coming in and like, you know, like on Lost when they're sitting in front of the thing and they're being fed like subliminal images.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert! Jesus, sometimes it's lost.
Are you sure that was a 5-hour energy you had?
Yeah.
Where exactly did you buy this?
It could have been.
You stopped by the side of the road, which was the 5-hour energy and LSD stand.
Yeah, it was some kind of road trip cocktail, I'm sure. But yeah, Risk of Rain, excellent, so fun. I think it's my new favorite game right now. I'm probably going to play it a lot more in the next couple weeks because it's fun and it's friggin' hard. And
Yes, it is.
It's a good game.
Yeah,
that's it for me.
Yeah, I dig Risk of Rain a lot. I mean, I don't have like a hallucinating travel story, although that's pretty awesome. Although I did travel and I did make some cocaine jokes, and that was kind of funny. But let's see. So what I've been playing, what I'm drinking is, it's kind of warm here, so I've got the old water there, and then I'm
curious, what's warm for Oregon?
It's like 80. It's like 82 right now, and we're everyone in Oregon's like, "Damn you, son!" No, I'm just kidding. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I'm drinking some tea even in 80-degree weather because I'm weird. And this cup says, "A daughter is a little girl who grows up to be your best friend." Aw. Anyways, so basically that's what I'm drinking.
Sweet mug.
I know.
Little known fact: John used to be Joanne.
Yeah.
I like it.
You don't out me, okay? I out me. Anyways.
I like it.
So
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. You don't out people, man. Anyways, basic etiquette. So I've been playing a few games. The first game I'm playing, I got a little while ago. It's called Wayward Souls. It's an iOS game. So it plays on your phone. It's only on iOS right now. All the Rocket Cat games are the guys that are making... I did an interview with them. I did a little while ago when they were doing their Kickstarter for Death Road to Canada. They also did like Punch Quest, Mage Gauntlet, a few other games are really cool. And they just released Wayward Souls on iOS. And so it's an interesting game. It's basically like Dark Souls or a roguelike or whatnot, where you go around and you it's permadeath, etc. And it's on your phone, so you'd expect that the controls suck. You'd expect it to be boring, etc., because that's kind of what I expect with most phone games. No offense to people that make phone games. You just make games that I don't like, for the most part. But no offense to 99% of everyone making phone games. But some games are great, and this is one of them. The play control works really well for a phone game, like one of the best I've played. The game, it's challenging, but it's the right kind of challenge for a phone game. And you can actually upgrade your characters by getting coins, and there are 3 different characters, and you can unlock other characters by getting further and further in the game. And so it's really great. Currently, it's $5, and the model is really interesting on this game because it's $5 right now, and they plan to make it more expensive as they add more into the game. which I think is a really interesting model. So if you're interested in buying the game, I recommend you pick it up now because it's actually really, really fun. And the score is really great. So I really like it. It's pretty cool. And yeah, so Wayward Souls on iOS. It'll come to Android and PC soon, so that'll be great. I've also been playing Age of Mythology Extended Edition. I got a press copy from Microsoft yesterday, and I started playing it last night. So if you love Age of Mythology, you know that when you play it on your computer, it still runs on Windows now, and it's fine. But you can't play online anymore because the servers got shut down or whatever. But you can play it over LAN, but you know that it's like boxed up because a lot of old games aren't in widescreen; they're only in full screen, even if you. So one of the things that's happened is Microsoft's been sort of letting companies take older games like Age of Empires 2 and release them in like a newer packaged version. So Age of Mythology Extended Edition is basically that. Well, it's modernized to widescreen. They've increased some of the graphics options. They took Age of Mythology and Age of Mythology, the Titans expansion, they slammed them into one. They also took a downloadable campaign that Microsoft released for free online, and they put it into the Steam version as well. So you get the original campaign of the game, you get the Golden Gift, which is the campaign that you did, and then you get the Titans campaign as well. They've also added Steam Online Play, and it's pretty impressive what they've added too, because they've got ladders and tournaments and events and a really great sort of matchmaking system online. I checked that out. There weren't a whole lot of people playing games. In fact, there was no one, but I was able to check out the Steam matchmaking. They also added Steam Workshop, but they haven't turned it on yet because the game hasn't shipped. It ships next week. But yeah, it's super great. I really, really like it a lot. So, I mean, as a game that I played with my friends at a staple LAN parties for a long time is back. It's on Steam now, and it'll be really easy for us to download and play it. So I'm really happy it'll be able to get a new audience. I went through the single-player campaign, which is really good, but the cutscenes are a little dated because it's in-game cutscenes, but it's just an older rendering engine, so it's kind of around the same style graphics as Warcraft 3, which is still great, but it's a little dated in that respect. But everything else is top-notch. It's a really, really great port, so I'm really happy to play it. So we'll just move right into our, and that's kind of what I've been playing, so we'll just move right into our first topic. And a little bit of, I've been using Cheerful Ghost to write a little bit more about nerdy stuff. Until there's a website where I can do that online, I'll have to use Cheerful Ghost. So basically I wanted to write a little bit about Star Wars because I love it. And I bet once we watch the new Episode 7, we're going to have a roundtable, maybe just about the movie itself, which I think would be fantastic. So basically, Star Wars Episode 7 is in production. J.J. Abrams is doing it. J.J. Abrams brought us such amazing films as the Star Trek reboot and the Star Trek Wrath of Khan reboot, as well as that's a spoiler alert, everyone. Sorry about that. As well as Super 8 and Cloverfield, Lost, Fringe, and other stuff that nerds seem to like a lot. One of the really great things about Star Wars Episode 7 that I dig is that JJ and Lawrence Kasdan are writing the script. So Lawrence Kasdan, for all of the people that don't have that name burned in their brain forever, wrote such amazing scripts as the original Indiana Jones movie, as well as The Empire Strikes Back. So if you're thinking like, oh, maybe the story won't be any good, it might be okay. Like, it might be okay. So when I heard that they've got Lawrence Kasdan back for Episode 7, I was like, oh my god, thank you. I was super happy about that. But there's a few bits of recent news that I wanted to talk about with you guys, and the first one is that basically what Disney is doing, Lucasfilm is doing, is they're taking all of the lore that happened after Return of the Jedi, like the Thrawn books, Shadows of Empire, video games, comic books, and they're basically tabling that, and they're calling it the Extended Universe now, if I understand it correctly. So basically what that means is those are fun stories that are still going to exist, but they're not canon anymore, right? So George Lucas was more okay with those being stories and canon. Well, now Disney's like, no, these aren't canon anymore. The new Star Wars canon is going to start with Star Wars Rebels, which is going to be the new cartoon that's going to start. and then it's going to be with Episode 7 as well, and then all their other spin-off films that they're doing, all Marvel style. So I'm curious what you guys think about this. Yeah, what do you guys think about the new extended edition, and just a little your thoughts about, or the extended universe and your thoughts about Episode 7. Script, what do you think?
Well, my exposure to the extended universe really is pretty limited. I didn't read the books, unfortunately. I read a couple of the comics, and I played mostly the games, like Knights of the Old Republic and Force Unleashed and Rebel Assault and those kinds of things. And so it's I never got the impression, and maybe if I'd read the books and been a part of that club, then I'd have a different opinion. But it seems to me by default that anything away from the original creator is not exclusively canon. And so I guess I always thought that George Lucas was cool with everybody making stuff, but I didn't think that he really was. I think what the article was saying was that he wasn't beholden to them in the sense that if they do it, he's basically whatever he does trumps whatever they do. And the way I also understood the article is that they were going to be using a lot of that extended universe as a foundation for going forward, not necessarily throwing it away, but maybe modifying it in a sense that some things will remain true and some things won't. But this will, Episode 7 will be the start of the new groundwork for what's complete and actually factual what happened in the universe. So I don't know. I mean, I'm cool with it because, like I said, I'm not that steeped in the lore. But I could understand, I guess, if people are upset about it. I don't think that there's a real need to be upset about it, though. I guess I don't know. It doesn't really seem like
don't understand it. So Star Wars.
Well, I mean, seriously, like the
prequel, or was that a terrible impression of Rage?
That's pretty good. But I mean, the prequel trilogy was. I mean, that's the canon that we have to. I personally don't consider that canon, so I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. To me, it doesn't matter because
I used to think the prequel's in very canon.
No, screw that noise. I'm sorry, but I've got a friend in Alaska that I talk shit about George Lucas just as much as anybody on the internet does, and it is his creation to make or break. But I mean, I don't know. I'm glad that that J.J. Abrams is doing this film, and I'm glad Lawrence Kasdan is writing the screenplay, because if George was doing another movie, I probably wouldn't go see it. I mean, if he was in complete control the way he was with the first three, God bless him, but I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't go see it. I'd maybe watch it when it was on Netflix or something, but I wouldn't go to the theater to watch it.
You should have an heart of ice.
Yes. I guess so, yes.
Good. I can feel the hate flowing through you.
That's right. Where's my lightning effects?
I got the red lightsaber here.
Yeah, I got an iPhone. Maybe it does something.
Maybe the iPhone does something notched it. What do you think, White Boy?
Yeah, I don't understand all the nerd rage over this. I mean, I've read a few of the Extended Universe books, which, by the way, let me adjust my nerd glasses here, but technically it was always called the Extended Universe. Just now they're basically anything that's come before, they're branding under this like Star Wars Legends brand, which means that it's not actually canon anymore. So that's basically what's going on with it. And then from this point on, anything new created is going to go through, Lucasfilm or whatever, and Disney, and it'll have its own place in the canon from that point on. But yeah, I mean, even the few books I read, like, they were interesting. It was cool because they were continuations of the original, movies. But I never assumed that if they made a new movie, they would base it on anything from the books or comics or anything like that. It's kind of like I always considered like the books or games as canon until proven otherwise, you know? So like as soon as a new movie comes out, if it negates something from a previous game or book, then the movie takes precedence. That's the canon. So I don't know. I really don't get the backlash over this, but I'm just glad there's a new Star Wars movie and that it looks like it stands a pretty good chance of being good. At the very least, it can't be as bad as Episode 1.
Isn't that such a sad thing to have to say?
Yeah,
like
I mean, anything at this point is probably going to be better than Episode 1. So I'm actually pretty happy about this. Yeah. What do you think, Travis?
Not a lot of prequel love so far, Travis.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with all of you about the lack of prequel love. I mean, I think they would have been okay. We're kind of going off on a tangent here, but I think they would have been okay if we didn't know how good Star Wars could have been with 4, 5, and 6. But really, going out of Jedi and into Episode 1 was so terrible. But yeah, as far as invalidating all the canon, I understand. I didn't have the nerd rage, but I had a little bit of a disappointment at first because of I'd kind of always hoped that if there was an Episode 7 that some of the games like the Dark Forces and Jedi Knight timeline was an amazing series of games. So kind of hoped they would get referenced or some of the characters would show up. But I mean, really, if you're going to make a new movie that comes after Episode 6, there's so much stuff that's been done in the books and comics and games that you've got to invalidate it. Or just rehash stories that have already been told, which they couldn't do. So, yeah, I think it's reasonable, and I just hope that they'll reference some of the stuff down the line, even if it's in the Legacy or Legends, whatever they're calling it. Maybe they can reference some of it.
Yeah. So I just want to kind of say, like, I'll answer the question, but I want to go back and say I don't have any. So a lot of nerds online or whatever have a lot of George Lucas animosity or whatever, and I don't. I kind of had my day with that, and then I realized one thing, and then I had a dream one day, and the dream went something like this. I was in a line with my friends, and this is really true. I was in a line with my friends, and we were going to be watching Star Wars, and I basically was just ripping Episode 1 to the shreds, and I was ripping Episode 2 to shreds, and I was making George Lucas jokes, and I was totally doing this, and everyone was laughing, of course, because it's hilarious, because it's funny, and because it's funny to do that, and yay, and nerds love to do that. And so, but then I turned around, and George Lucas was actually like 3 people behind me in line, and he was really not happy about what I was saying, because he was like really taking it personally. Because why wouldn't he? I mean, I was making jokes and slamming the stuff that he made and all this sorts of stuff like that. And I thought to myself at the moment when I was like in that dream, I'm like, you know what? I actually kind of made some jokes that I'm actually not even like. I seriously believe I was just doing it to be funny or whatever. And then I realized that, like, well, I can never be friends with him anymore, so, well, oh, and I felt terrible. I'm like, George Lucas hates me. I would rather be friends with him. So after that dream, I realized that, like, I don't know, a lot of my animosity, like, and sort of that typical nerd rage kind of, like, went out because I realized that I want to be friends with George Lucas someday. So there we are. So it's not that I actually, like, think that everything's great and Episode 1 through 3 are my favorite. They're not, but I do look at Episode 1 and I think, oh, you know, like that's actually a better movie than Episode 2 and 3. Like just as a film, like if we're just critiquing it as a film. But anyways, I don't want to get into that discussion. But and I've watched them again and I think they're fine. No, it is. No. Watch Episode 1, 2, and 3 again. Episode 1 is the stronger film. It is. It just is. It's a stronger movie.
I will not ever say that again.
No.
You will not convince people to watch Episode 1.
No. I've got them on Blu-ray because I got the Star Wars tech, and I know this is a really hard point to sell, but again, I'm just talking about films here, like just stronger films. But anyways, it was just the first one, so it gets a little bit of hate. But anyways, so and
I will say this though, the most interesting things that came out of the prequel series, at least for me, was Qui-Gon Jinn. I thought was an interesting character.
Yeah.
And then of course Darth Maul was awesome.
Sure.
So naturally, they both died in the first movie. But
Well,
I will give you that. As far as Episode 1 goes, those two characters for me were by
Sure.
far the most interesting thing that came out of the prequels. I really wish they would have done more with those characters.
Sure. So Episode 1 for me feels more Star Wars-y, like a Star Wars movie. Anyways, that's different putt. But we're just talking about Episode 7. So again, like many of you guys, I ate up a lot of the Star Wars stuff, like the Thrawn books. Like I ate those up in middle school, and I loved them. And I would dreamt that maybe someday we could see, the Thrawn books, Heir to the Empire series, be movies, and they'd be pretty good movies, I think. But I sort of when I heard about Episode 7 and that Lawrence Kasdan was going to be writing it with JJ, I sort of figured that basically what he did with Star Trek, he was going to kind of do with Star Wars. Not that he's going to invent an alternate timeline, but that he was going to be doing something different. And I'm actually pretty happy about that because I'm okay with seeing something different because we're always going to have those Star Wars stories that we love, and I'd like to see something different. Now, of course they're going to be doing stuff that some of the other books did. Luke gets a burrito in a book and then he gets a burrito in the movie. You can't have that. It's going to be the same. You have Luke and they're going to be doing similar things, and it makes sense that Han and Leia have a kid and all these sorts of things. Kind of makes sense that maybe Luke gets a girlfriend or something. You're going to see some similar stuff in those, which I think is pretty cool, which is pretty great. So the other one that I want to talk about, and maybe you guys have any thoughts on this, and then we'll move on, which is the Star Wars Episode VII cast was announced. Do you guys have anything that you want to say specifically about that? Travis, start with you. Anything?
Most of the new cast, I didn't recognize the names at all. I had to go look them up, and there were a few. Oh right, they were in that movie, but really Andy Serkis is the one that sticks out for me.
Sure.
I really want to know what he's going to be playing. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm glad that a lot of the original cast is coming back. People have said that they're too old to play the characters, but I doubt Luke's going to be having lightsaber battles. That's not going to be his role, I would assume. So yeah, I'm glad to see they're back, and looking forward to seeing what these people are all cast as.
Playboy?
Yeah, I was excited to see so much of the old cast returning. I don't think the original cast is too old to be in the movies, as long as they're not trying to do really tough action scenes. I think the one that makes the most sense is probably Luke and Leia. Luke, obviously could be a new Obi-Wan type character.
He will be.
Yeah, and it totally makes sense that he would be training, the next generation of Jedi.
Absolutely.
And Leia, is always going to go into politics, and so she's not going anywhere. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Han. Chewbacca obviously is going to be Chewie, and then the droids obviously are going to be the same.
So I got some of the script. Han's manager at a pizza shop. It's pretty well used of the character there. Harrison Ford's acting chops. Anyways, continue.
Yeah. I was sad to see that there's no Lando. No Billy D. Williams. What's up with that?
Yeah, it's rough.
That sucks. I guess it's not going to ruin the movie or anything, but I was still sad to see that he's not going to be in there.
Well, basically, his script negotiation got worse all the time, so he just couldn't sign up.
This deal keeps getting worse all the time.
I'm sorry, guys. Go ahead. Continue.
No, that means. I was a little concerned at first because it looked like the only new female character, there was only one new female. And that was something the original movies were kind of lacking was...
Daisy Ridley, yeah.
Some interesting females.
Yeah.
And I have two daughters, so I pay a lot of attention to, what kind of girls that or girl characters that my girls can look up to.
Yeah.
And one thing that's great about we've been watching the Clone Wars TV show, and they've really taken to Ahsoka. Because she's young, she's a girl, she's a Jedi, she's really cool. I was hoping for something like that in the new movies. However, I read just this afternoon that there's at least one other major role that they haven't cast yet, and it's supposed to be another female. So at least that's pretty good. So we're getting
Luke's
a couple new
girlfriend.
females.
Luke's girlfriend, basically.
Mara Jade, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So anyways, but all around, I was pretty pleased with the cast. I'm glad to see that there's some unknowns. I think that that's cool, you know, that they're not just trying to fill it with a bunch of people that she'll recognize, and, you know, I don't want to see Tom Cruise playing Tom Cruise in a Star Wars film, you know? So
awesome. What are you talking about? Insane.
Because Tom Cruise always plays Tom Cruise, right? It's
True.
basically the same character in every movie. It's just a different movie.
Tom Cruise as Yoda's cousin.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm glad to see some unknowns in there. I think that's pretty cool. I'm very curious to see what Andy Serkis is going to do, just because there's no telling. He could be him, he could be an alien, he could be the new Emperor. I mean, the guy can basically act anything.
Like I said, I'm sitting on the new Star Wars Episode VII script. Hold on, let me see. Oh, that's right. He's going to be a Gungan by the name of Jar Jar Binks the Fifth. So you're welcome. You're welcome, everybody.
No!
Wait,
Okay.
I don't know. Gungan?
Right.
Anybody?
How about Other John?
I'm excited about the cast. I'm excited about two characters in particular, the Adam Driver and Oscar Isaac. Adam Driver is from the HBO show Girls, and I like him in that. And then Oscar Isaac, the only thing that I know him from is he was one of the bad guys that went after what's his name? Jeremy Renner in Born Legacy.
The new Bourne movie.
What was the fourth one? The fourth one. The third one.
The Bourne
last one.
Identity: The Quest for More Money.
Yes, that one.
Right.
That one.
Right. Yes.
And they both look like they could play really good badasses. So if they're Sith warriors in some way, then that would be pretty cool. And if they're good guys, that might suck. But and then yeah, I don't know. To see the old cast back and to see them handled under JJ's direction. I mean, I'm sure they're going to do their thing. Harrison's going to do his thing, but to have the I don't know, expertise is the wrong word. The style, I guess, of the specific style of J.J. Abrams directing a movie that Han and Luke and Leia are all in. I mean, that's exciting. I get really excited about that, and I see that, as with all of his other movies, I guess we're talking about JJ's, the crew that's following him, the production crew. It's all people that have been with him for a while, at least in the theatrical movies, the Star Trek movies, and Cloverfield and Super 8. So I'm excited. I just don't want it to look like those. I don't want it to look like...
Agreed. Shaky cam, Star Trek. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I want to look like a Star Wars movie. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm excited. I can't believe that it's a little over a year away. I mean, that's pretty exciting. I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but it's really hard.
Yeah, exactly. I'm getting my hopes up for seeing all these amazing actors on screen. You know what I mean? That I think that's probably appropriate. But the hype train for this movie is going to be insane, and I don't think anyone's going to be without getting inside of the wake of it. So, like you, Script, I'm pretty jazzed about Oscar Isaac. He was really great in Drive. Hadn't seen Inside Llewyn Davis, but I've heard really great things about it. So the actor that I'm psyched about, besides the originals coming back, which I think out of the originals, I think the most I'm excited about is Mark Hamill back. I think if they just had him, the movie would be fantastic. I think that because I think that I've seen him talk now, and I think that he does in a lot of ways embody Jedi Master now, even, you know what I mean, just being an older person. And so just like as far as like nerd respect that guy gets, it's going to be great. And so I think one of the things that J.J. Abrams did really well in Star Trek was every scene that Leonard Nimoy in is beautiful and almost gives me an emotional reaction because Leonard Nimoy is I don't want to go off and like bow down to Leonard Nimoy right now, but I'm probably going to because I think he's amazing. But he's like an elder statesman of the kind of like of this kind of like person that like embodies everything about like humanity that I respect. You know, in terms of like artist and caring about people and humanitarian and an actor and doing amazing things and changing the world and all these sorts of things, you know, for like a positive, you know, impact. And then the character of Spock and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, this is about Star Wars. But so J.J. Abrams handled his character with such like care, I thought, in the Star Trek remake. So I think that he's going to do the same thing here with the original Star Wars cast because, you know, it's going to be like part of the reason why you bring the original cast back is to, which is exactly what he did with Leonard Nimoy, it's to give people the feels from the original, and that's exactly what happened. And you get the feels from the original, I'm just breaking it down, to bring it, to give people the feels for the new stuff. And you put the old feels next to the new feels, and you're going to get this cross-pollination, and it should work, hopefully, if it's the right combination. So I'm super happy about that. This is a really big cast, so it's going to be interesting to see how they pull that off, where each character gets enough attention and stuff like that. But one of my favorite actors, like one actor that I thought was a really interesting choice, is John Boyega, who is in Attack the Block. And by the way, if you guys haven't seen Attack the Block, watch it. It's great science fiction film. It's really interesting, edgy, all of the above. It's very, very good. So excited about that. Really excited about that. So anyways, that's about it for Star Wars news. As anything interesting comes up, we'll talk about it. Yeah, exactly. I'm excited, and I'm going to watch it and expect in a Cheerful Ghost Roundtable after it comes out that we talk about it and that we might go a little over on that. So
because we love us some Star Wars.
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do. I love Star Wars. So that's great. All right, so on to a gaming topic. Boring. As you guys know, you guys heard about E.T. Apparently, there's this game made on Atari, and it was so terrible that they needed to bury it in the ground and cover it with, a while ago. So basically, I guess the legend goes is that Atari was doing so badly with certain game E.T. that they wanted to shorten the supply of it. Because they basically couldn't give them away fast enough, and so they buried them in the ground. The Nevada desert became a gaming legend, lore, myth, got cult status, angry video game nerd making a movie about it. And then recently, some people are going to unearth it, and Microsoft is there. I don't know exactly how Microsoft is involved, but they are. I thought that was a really interesting thing. Made it to the front page at cheerfulghost.com. And we were sort of thinking about that and curious. We wanted to talk a little bit about some of the worst games we've played, and if we think they should be metaphorically buried, because if we buried in real life and no one could play it again, that would be tyranny, and we are not tyrants. So curious what you guys think, and then maybe talk about games that you think are terrible, and then at the end say, should this game be buried for all time, metaphorically, of course. And we're going to start with script, because the curveballs keep flying.
Oh, God. Am I just saying what games I hate? Am I talking about E.T.? Okay, I'll talk about E.T.
You talk about E.T. in the games you hate, absolutely.
E.T. was my favorite 2600 game. No, it wasn't. I remember playing it at a friend's house. I never actually owned E.T., although I own it now, ironically. I found it in a collection that I had. I don't even know that I bought it intentionally. It was just part of a deal. But I played it, and I remember liking it as a kid when I was at my friend's house and thinking, wow, it's cool, you can go in these pits and find pieces of foam and like put it together. That's kind of cool. Because, I mean, Atari games at the time, they're pretty limited. They're pretty straightforward. You move your block of yellow over here to find a key to unlock a gate, and then that's it. So, I mean, it was game over, yeah. It was limited. But I don't think it was. I don't know. The worst game of all time is that's a ballsy thing to give any game, anything in general. But I mean, I don't know. I think that there's worse. Well, I don't know. Maybe not necessarily. But I'll name 3. No, I'll name 2, and I'll name a category. Oni was was a pretty horrible game. It was a big letdown. Control-wise, the game was frustrating. It was probably pretty to look at the time graphically, but you couldn't do anything in it. It was horrible. Superman 64, or any Superman game for that matter, it's all just random positive shit with a big S shit, and probably 90% of all games on the iPhone right now all of those could probably just be wrapped up in a big coffin and buried at sea, and that would be fine. But I mean, it's all live and learn. Now anybody that makes a Superman game is going to know exactly what not to do. And I'll play E.T. later.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, sorry. All right, so there's a lot of games I could talk about in this category, but well, I'll try to narrow it down to a few here. So, worst game in terms of being the biggest letdown is going to go to Quest 64 for the Nintendo 64. So I grew up on the original Nintendo playing games like Dragon Warrior, and then in the Super Nintendo era there was all the Squaresoft games, Secret of Mana, Secret of Evermore, the Final Fantasy games, Chrono Trigger. I grew up on RPGs. So when I got an N64 and there was like no RPGs at all, I got really excited when I first read about Quest 64 in Nintendo Power. It was a day one purchase for me. I bought it, as soon as it came out, got it home, and it sucked. I mean, it is a horrible game. It barely qualifies as an RPG to begin with. It was such a letdown. It was horrible. That game is terrible. You're supposed to be like this really powerful wizard, and the best thing you can do is to run up and hit things with your staff. Like, all your magic sucks. So it was a terrible game. I was so disappointed with it. I traded it into the Game Crazy, which was our local used game store at the time. So that game was a huge letdown. Next up is the most rage-inducing game. I actually had to Google this one. I could not remember for the life of me what it was called. I tried Googling for, game mechanics that I kind of remembered, storyline elements that I kind of remembered, could not find it. I eventually just Googled that Gothic PS1 game and found it. So it's called Kodelka, and it is this terrible mixture of survival horror and RPG, which on the back of the box looked really cool. I bought it as an impulse, probably from Game Crazy also. Got it home, and it is the most frustrating piece of crap I've ever stuck into my PlayStation. I was very surprised when I looked it up to find that it actually has a pretty high rating on Game FAQs and stuff like that. I guess there's people out here who like punishment of some kind. The main reason this game was so rage-inducing is, the battles are kind of more of like a tactics game where you move around on squares and stuff like that. But there's not a lot to it. It's really not that interesting. But what really, really sets me off is that every single one of your weapons can break. And it's not that they have a durability that wears down over time. It's every time you use it, there's just a certain percentage chance that it will break. And it must be pretty high, because I never had any weapons in this game. And trying to fight, demons and undead monsters with your fists just doesn't work out that well. And this is in a game that has no item shops. There's nowhere to buy or find new weapons. It's just you hope that sword that you found lasts you for a little while, because there's nothing else. It was so rage-inducing. Every single time you get a new weapon, the third time you use it, it breaks and you're left without anything again. So that was another one I returned. And then the last game I'm going to talk about is a game that I know is terrible, but I actually still kind of like it. And that's Lord of the Rings for the Super Nintendo. Now, I'm a huge Tolkien fan. I've read Lord of the Rings. I read The Hobbit every couple of years. I've read the Silmarillion. I know the lore. I've watched all the movies. I have the extended versions. I'm just waiting for my kids to be old enough to read The Hobbit to them. So naturally, when I found out there was a Super Nintendo game based on Lord of the Rings, I bought it. By all accounts, this game is terrible. It very, very loosely follows the first book. The controls are terrible. Keep in mind, this is a Super Nintendo game, but it doesn't save your game to the cartridge. There's a password system for your saved game, but it's also broken. So, like, when you go to, like, quit and you get your password to enter on the next time, as soon as you put it in and load it up, you'll, like, be in a different place, or you'll have different characters. To top things off, there's permadeath in the game, so if you lose Samwise in the Borrowed Downs, you're not getting him back. He's dead permanently in the game. It's hard.
Well, that's just like real life, man. Can you get Samwise back in real life if he died? No, you could not. You could not.
It's also just they reuse environments a lot, and that's really confusing, especially in the Borrowed Downs and the Mines of Moria, because there's lots of like entrances and exits to get into these caves and stuff, and all the areas look the same. So it is incredibly easy to get lost and not know where you are or how to get out. So it is just a terrible game. I still kind of like it, though. I don't know. It was Lord of the Rings. It was fun. The music was actually pretty good. And, I got it when I was pretty young, so I played it with my mom. So there's memories of that, because it was actually multiplayer. You could play up to 5 people multiplayer, so that was kind of cool. So, yeah. Terrible game, but I actually have fond memories of it. So, all right. That's end of my rant.
Travis.
Yeah, as it happens, my 3 categories are kind of the same as yours, Tim. The game that should be buried for being so disappointing is Daikatana. Because, had all
Suck it down.
What?
Suck it down.
I don't get it.
Romero's gonna make you his bitch.
Oh, yeah. I was about to mention that. The crazy... I didn't remember Suck It Down, but Romero's going to make you his bitch was on all those...
It was the second line after Romero's going to make you his bitch.
Gotcha. Yeah. The John Romero, a legend, and then he goes on to make this crap. It was so disappointing. It may have been an okay game. I just have horrible memories of it when comparing it to what I was expecting. But in terms of what should be buried for being rage-inducing, Superman 64 is going to take that. And I mean, if anybody's watched the various YouTube channels, the Angry Video Game Nerd, that just review terrible games, this isn't going to be a big surprise, but Superman 64 is probably the most broken game I've ever played. It's just... I don't understand. I don't think there was any quality control on the game. They did it and then released it without testing it. But it was still more of a video game than the game that I think that should be buried as punishment, but then dug back up and enjoyed with a few beers. Big Rigs Over the Road Racing. I'm sure you've seen some YouTube clips of it. If you haven't, it's a game made by the same guy who made the War Z that's gotten all this terrible press lately. It was like his second game, which was almost identical to his first, except there were big rigs instead of cars that you supposedly race, but there aren't any opponents. There are bridges that you can like drive toward, but you don't go over the bridges, you go under the bridges. You go through all the buildings. If you go in reverse, you'll like hit infinite speed eventually. It's not even a game, but it's so much fun to just play with as kind of this is an example of how everything can go so horribly wrong to circle back around and be awesome.
That sounds awesome. I've never played that. That sounds... yeah, I heard a lot about War Z. Yeah. I think it was taken down on Steam at one point, which is pretty awesome because not a lot of games do that. So I'm gonna start in reverse order, and then we're gonna go back in time from there. So we're gonna start with the latest game I played that was kind of a disappointment, which I heard a lot of great things about it, and so I picked it up at GameStop cheap, called Call of Juarez: Bound in Blood. So I'm like, okay, cool. It's a cowboy game. That's got to be great. I tried it. First mission, I was like, this just looks bad. Like, the game looked pretty bad. Like, I didn't care what was going on. It was just really janky. So I don't understand how people liked it at all, even some people I respect in game. Anyway, so that was unfortunate. The one that I played a little bit after that, or before that, was Dungeon Siege 3. So I really, really love Dungeon Siege, the original Dungeon Siege. I really liked that game a lot. That game it just blew my mind with, the music and the art, and it was, Gas Power did a really great job. And then the multiplayer campaign was like bigger than the single player game, so like, and they had a different multiplayer campaign you could play over LAN with your friends, and it was great. I loved Dungeon Siege, and so it was rebooted recently, and I'm like, oh sweet, Dungeon Siege. I'm so glad they released a demo for it because it's really boring. It had almost no like connection to the original game at all. One of the things that's cool about the original Dungeon Siege, you have big parties, and they have people that can you can do whatever you want with them. So if you've got a mage class, you can turn them into a fighter just by changing their abilities and stuff. That's kind of missing in Dungeon Siege 3, so it seemed just kind of like a regular old Diablo knockoff or whatever. Anyways, I didn't, but not even, it was more on rails than that even, so that was really disappointing. But if I'm going to take a game and I'm going to bury it into the ground so that no one can play it again, I believe that the game will be one of the biggest disappointments, and I'll explain why. Because back when I was a kid, I was poor. I was a poor kid, so when I had money in my wallet, it was a good day. You know what I mean? And so I remember having $20 in my wallet. I'm like, I want a video game. So I went to the store, and this is around the Super Nintendo was on $20 for a video game. That's not a lot of money. Games out were like 50 or 60. I wanted a good one, but I only had $20. So, but I wanted a game. So I went to the store, and I'm like, well, that one looks cool because it's robots and it's robot fighting monsters. So that's probably cool. So I bought Ultraman. What a pile of horseshit. Ultraman is fucking terrible. So let me explain. Ultraman, it's like this it's a game. I never saw the TV show because I wasn't born in Japan, but and I didn't get Japanese television. But it's basically kind of like Power Rangers. This robot fights monsters. Well, anyways, the game's terrible and really hard. So, like, I wasn't very good at it. It's basically the typical game where you kill the first monster and then the second one just murders you. It's so impossible and just so not fun. And one of the worst things as a kid is to spend all your money on a game, come home and play it, and have it just destroy your soul and be like, man, I wish I could take this back, but I can't. Oh man. Anyway, a special place in hell for the people that made that game. And if I could bury it, I would. And again, it's not like that, bad games are a thing, because bad games are out there, and I'm okay, bad games, whatever. But this game was, oh man, it destroyed my soul, and I think I traded it in, I got $1 for it or something. So it's even worse, I barely got a candy bar out of it. But it would be Ultraman for the Super Nintendo. So.
Painful.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. I don't know what to say about that, guys, but Episode 7's coming, so yay for that.
Woo!
Exactly. All right, everybody, we'll wrap things up. Just want to let everyone know that this has been the Cheerful Ghost Roundtable, which is brought to you by cheerfulghost.com, the coolest website on the internet. At the end of the episode, we talk a little bit about where you can find us online. Script, where can people find you online?
Find me at cheerfulghost.com/script, which apparently now links Twitter accounts. So you can find me on Twitter from there, or you can go to Twitter. I don't even know what my name is on Twitter. You can just look for John Ingalls. I think I just changed it. So, yeah, I'm there. I'm on Facebook, but hardly ever. Just go to Cheerful Ghost. That's where I'm at.
White Voice Slim.
All right, you can find me at cheerfulghost.com/whitevoiceslim or on Twitter @whitevoiceslim. Those are the best two places to find me. I've been more active on Twitter. I may not tweet much, but I do actually check it every day, so feel free to tweet at me and I'll respond. And you can also find me, of course, in a galaxy far, far away.
Okay, you're not going to be in the round table anymore. Okay, Travis. Fired, basically. No, I'm just kidding. I love you. Travis?
You can find me at cheerfulghost.com/Travis, and I'm not even going to tell you my Twitter handle because you can just go to my profile page on Cheerful Ghost and find it. So stop being lazy.
Stop being internet people.
Well, you can find me on Facebook, Facebook/Mark Zuckerberg, or you can also find me on Twitter @Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, just kidding. You can find me at cheerfulghost @/JDodson and Twitter @JDodson. So thanks everyone for watching this episode. Check you next time.
Hit the button. We're still live. What else do we talk about?
Stop the podcast.
Put in the